Some scholars say that at this point, the Chinese leader recoiled at communism, prepared to break with Russia. But no one knows, for in March 1925, death cuts across the revolution. Sun dies of cancer. Mandarins, scholars, warlords, soldiers file by his bier in homage. All claim his message as their legacy, scuffle for his mantle. A year's turmoil thrusts up the air. Sun Yat-sen's soldier favorite, Chiang Kai-shek. At 38, he seizes leadership at Canton headquarters of the Kuomintang. This man is known to Westerners only as a fiery nationalist and revolutionary. As he mobilizes under Sun's new flag, all China waits for him to strike against the warlords. July 9, 1926, Bei Fa marched north. Against Zhang's slim divisions are marshaled 500,000 warlord troops. A political earthquake rends the land, for these are soldiers of a different kind. Fighting for a cause and country, they storm through villages and fields, victorious as much by spirit as by guns. Accompanied by Borodin, a Russian staff, their wives, Zhang's headquarters pushes north by train. A forward fan of young revolutionaries, nationalist and communist alike, precedes the troops, calling to arms peasants and workers who surge to join the banners of the new day dawning. Among them, then unnoticed, is a communist intellectual, Mao Zedong, then 33, directing scores of peasant agitators to summon fury for the revolution. By fall, they take Hankow. The nationalist revolution moves its capital there, and then exultantly raids the British concession, burns down foreign buildings, tears down foreign flags. The tide rolls on, from Hankow down the river. In April, Chiang Kai-shek has reached Nanking, and then a pause. Zhang waits. Upriver in Hankow, left-wing leaders of the Kuomintang no longer trust their army's leader at the front. Borodin is urging, get rid of Chiang Kai-shek. In 4 short years, the communists have grown to 60,000 members. They urge the left-wing nationalists. No revolution is complete until peasants own their land, workers their factories.
Jiang disagreed. Scholars of Chinese history still debate with enormous fury exactly what happened next and why. But I think it's the classic revolutionary question. Who gets power? To whom the fruits of victory? No one knows what went on in Chiang Kai-shek's mind, but I think one thing must have been clear to him. Either they were going to get him or he was going to get them. And he wasn't about to be dismissed the way Sun Yat-sen had been dismissed from power by warlords so often. It was a question of who would strike first, and he struck first. April 12, 1927 in Shanghai was the night of terror, as Zhang's troops rounded up and butchered hundreds of communists, students, union leaders, anybody they suspected. And when the day rose, he was in complete control of all the lower Yangtze Valley. And after that, for months and months through 1927, it becomes a great big bloody boiling stew as left-wing and right-wing fighting warlords get into the act and communists try to stage uprisings, and it all ends. It ends in tragedy. Because for so long, this country, torn apart, had waited for a government to give it unity and dignity. It expected so much of this revolution. And now they found that revolutionaries can be butchers too. And this long, tormented quest for a new order was to end in this squalor. And it ended finally in December 1927 in Canton, when, on orders from the Kuomintang, the communists attempted to stage a massive uprising and seize that industrial city, and the Kuomintang struck back with counter-terror.
Professor Earl Swisher witnessed the event.
The nationalist forces came in on Tuesday afternoon. There was fighting and burning of parts of the city during the night, and then the mop-up came on Wednesday morning after the coup had lasted only about 48 hours. identification of communists was a very simple matter. They had wrapped red kerchiefs around their necks to identify them as communists, and when the coup collapsed, these were hurriedly stripped off to remove the identification, but in the rather humid climate, the red scarfs left marks on their necks, and so that a communist was anyone with a red neck. The destruction of communists was a very simple process of rounding up everyone with a red stain on his neck and executing him.
Some thought communism in China forever quenched, but Mao Zedong did not. He had escaped and watched in hiding. He would return to fight another day. In the cities of the Yangtze, children and teachers, businessmen and soldiers pulse to Zhang's call. To north, south, and east, warlords still ring him round, but the winds of fortune favor his expansion.
May I introduce to the audience the President of the National Government of the Republic of China. Long live the Three People's Principle. Long live the revolutionary spirit of the nationalist China.
A fresh new face enters his life, the beautiful Mei-ling Soong, sister of Madame Sun Yat-sen, American-trained, Wellesley educated. Zhang takes her hand in marriage. She is to be a major shaping influence in all his future thinking. By 1929, Zhang has built a majestic mausoleum for Sun Yat-sen at his new capital, Nanking. There, the body of the hero is brought. Pearl Buck remembers that day.
Chiang Kai-shek came in and roused great hopes in everyone. I remember the first time I ever saw him was at the funeral of Sun Yat-sen 4 years after Sun Yat-sen died. His embalmed body was brought to Nanking to be buried in the great new tomb on the mountain there. It's the first time I saw him face to face, a very striking man with very striking, bold, black eyes. And he had a presence, and I think that he might have been a great first emperor if there had been a throne to sit upon. That was the tragedy, that the very structure of government was destroyed by the revolution, so that there wasn't a government, and he had to begin that government from the bottom, and he didn't understand government. He was a soldier, and he didn't know how to make a government. And he had plenty of advisors, most of them young PhDs from the United States, very impractical and idealistic, and they didn't know how to make a government. And all the time he had the communists to fight, and he also had the Japanese threatening. And it was a very difficult situation. I'm never inclined to blame him.
To Western eyes, this soldier's rule seems like the first firm government of China in many years. Zhang too is changing, for his wife, as much American in thought as Chinese, leads him to see the United States as friend, a source of loans and help. As new railways stretch their tracks across the country, the new Kuomintang order Zhang has brought begins to offer comfort and luxuries to the cities he controls. Industry booms, production soars. Engineers and young industrialists find, for the first time, careers opening to modern talents. Universities flourish, parade their graduates full of hope. In cities, department stores begin to offer Chinese taste of every modern wear. Modern dress takes subtle hold on Chinese fashion, while rich Chinese, in centers like Shanghai, begin enjoying privileges until now saved for foreigners.
I'm in dear old Shanghai, and I'm dancing, sweetheart, with you. And Shanghai, in dear old Shanghai, without it all now. In my arms, dear, away from home, dear, we'll let the rest of the world go by. I'm right there, we'll make love.
Not such froth, however, but the primordial appeal of Chinese nationalism is changing Asian politics. Even in Manchuria, the call of patriotism twinges the conscience of warlord Zhang Zuolin, causing him to flout his Japanese protectors. Traveling by rail in summer 1928, Zhang Zuolin meets his death. A Japanese plot, blasting him to bits, punishes him for what they call his treachery. His son, young Marshal Zhang Xueliang, succeeds to power in Manchuria. This junior warlord knows he must serve Japan as puppet or go with nationalism. He chooses Zhang. In Japan, this switch sets off alarm. Military men control Japan. They mobilize. They must strike soon. They know if Zhang extends his sway to vast Manchuria, if China's 400 million people